So lads, I just made a video called Why I Believe in God. And I think people can watch that and be like, yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. But now I'm making a video called Why I Believe in Jesus. Now that's different because when you say Jesus, a lot of people imagine sort of, the magic man with the beard and the long hair who can turn water into wine and, he's magic. He does all the miracles. Like, it feels almost mythological, I think, to a lot of atheists. But I think this is an important video for me to make. I feel like it's worth me making because I do believe in Jesus. And yeah, so before I start, I just want to say I'm not trying to convert you, you know what I mean? Helping or improving someone's life would be cool, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like, I'm just trying to explain. So yeah, bear that in mind. Now, the first thing I want to say is something that probably would have helped me when I was an atheist to get the point, because I never got it. I was like, okay, what's so special about this guy in the white robes or whatever the pictures have him as? But the thing I've realized is a good way to conceptualize it is sort of thinking him as less of this like magic figure and more of like, he's more of a way, you know what I mean? He's more of a man that sort of perfectly embodied this way of following God, you know what I mean? He perfectly embodied the way to live lovingly and live how you should live in this world, like sort of ahead of everything, you know what I mean? His teachings aren't just be a nice guy. It's more of an advanced love, you know what I mean? He's not just saying, love the people around you. He's saying love your enemy. There's all this stuff about turning the other cheek, etc., etc. So yeah, that's worth thinking about. But he also has a lot of teachings around forgiveness, which I think is really important, and it's very hard to understand when you haven't got into faith, you know what I mean? But after a while, you kind of realize how flawed everyone, including yourself, well, I am. Genuine forgiveness, you know what I mean, becomes a big part of these things, and it really is helpful, and it's very hard to explain if you haven't sort of, experienced that sort of faith and stuff. And yeah, he has a lot of teachings on, mercy, not being too judgmental, humility, not worrying about the sort of physical and material and like stupid things in life. Basically, he's very honest. He's a man of honesty. He's a man of bravery. It's such a focus on going away from human rules, which I think is really good. It's away from all these little ceremonial stuff and ritual stuff and like little traditions and little like man-made customs and man-made judgments. And it's more towards something which is just transcendent to everything, which is love, which is sort of I guess a spirit of humility, a spirit of sobriety, you know what I mean? Something that really changes your whole being, but mostly love. And you may notice this isn't a very rational argument on why I believe in Jesus. My why I believe in God video is a little bit more focused on the rational side, because I really believed what I said. But the thing about this, man, is you can argue so much about the history of these things. You can argue so much. Historians genuinely disagree. There's a lot of very, very, very proficient intellectuals who just actually think Jesus was a real guy, including my boy Jordan Peterson, who is like extremely well-read and all of that. But here's the thing. The history is so clouded anyway for everything that what really keeps standing when everything else is fallen is the values. And I think the values of Jesus, if you read one of the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, John, or Luke, each one of them are basically a similar book, and just one of them will explain like most of Jesus' teaching. So it's if you're interested, it's worth reading, and they're quite short. But the thing about these values from these Gospels is they're just the truest they can be. And that's the thing. Jesus himself says you can, I'm going to misquote this, but you should judge a tree by its fruit. So don't worry about the tree, worry about the fruit, like worry about what it produces, worry about, I guess, what it says, its teachings, its values. And he also says, if you don't believe in me, the man Jesus, he says, believe in the works, believe again in his way, in his teaching. So it's think about that. And again, it's very hard to explain rationally, but it's one of those things where it sounds a bit like a scam if you're like, you're very skeptical. But there really is something about taking one step towards God so he can take 2 steps towards you. Like you have to put your foot in the door to really get it, basically. Like as I said in my last video, I believe faith has to be an option. If it was obvious, if it was provable, it would defeat the purpose. And yeah, I think it applies here. But the difference with Jesus is, I think it just resonates with everyone. Like every religion accepts the principles of love. Every religion is very, very aligned, more or less, with this sort of morality. And even if someone doesn't have a belief, what Jesus is saying will still resonate with anyone. Even like any atheist will agree with the moral values of Jesus' teachings. The thing about Jesus and the thing about believing in God is, I just think it's a benchmark of that, because everyone can have their philosophies, but no one's God except for God. So we don't know what the true way to live is. And I think it just helps sort of like humble yourself and align yourself with more of a deeper truth, because it's very possible to do bad or not very good things in the name of good and thinking you're doing a good thing. To be fair, there's a lot of like people that do stuff in the name of religion that do bad things, but it's the same concept. It's all corruption from the true essence of the teachings. And I think we can find everything out about this world, we can go so deep and we still won't figure out the answer, because really it's right in front of us the whole time. It's how we live. That's one thing we know. How we live is important. Sure, we can do cool stuff with working out all the particles and chemicals, like we can build planes and stuff, but how we live is it's transcendent. It's everything. And I think no matter how much philosophizing you do, it all comes down to these teachings of Jesus in the end. And just saying, I do really have respect for the other religions too. I have respect for Islam, I have respect for Buddhism, etc, etc. This is the one that resonates with me a lot at the moment, and I do think the God part is important, but it's hard to get that if you haven't like put your foot in the door. You know what I mean? When you combine these moralities and these teachings with faith, with embodying it, it goes from a philosophy to an embodiment, like a being. And I think that being is so useful in this day and age. It protects you from the bad stuff. It protects you from all the vices, the toxicities, the addictions, which the world is just full of in this day and age. I really do think we need religion, but I think we need God, you know what I'm saying? And I think Jesus is sort of the main representative of God. So yeah, it's just something, it's almost like not quite a spirit, kind of like a way which just really helps you stay away from being led astray and go towards, the better path. And I really think we need it. I don't think it's a matter of saying Jesus' name 3 times and then like you get some magic energy over you, you know what I mean? I think he's the way because of what he represents. And also, I can't make a video on Jesus without mentioning the sacrifice. The belief with Christians is that he died for our sins, you know what I mean? There's debates on what that actually means. But there is that too. There's his sacrifice, like Jesus himself is sacrificed. He died on the cross, and he was resurrected, which is even more hard to believe for an atheist. But I guess getting to the point where I believe in God, I'm just like, oh, he's God, like, it's actually possible he raised Jesus from the dead. But yeah, I guess his resurrection sort of completed his sacrifice, and his message. That's the way I see it. And again, take this with a grain of salt because my views are changing and I don't fully get this, but I think his sacrifice sort of completed his message, his teachings, his actions, his life. And you can see that with how Christianity spread. And if you're an atheist, the best way I try and explain that concept is by doing that. It's provided a true North Star, a true way to people who want to follow it. And it venerates his message of repentance for sins, repentance for all that. Again, I think it's hard to explain, but it's an important message. But I'm not a master on this concept, so take that with a grain of salt. A lot of Christians believe different things, and these teachings aren't just they're not just pointless customs. They affect the way you relate to others. They affect you. They last in ways you can't imagine, I guess. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Peace.